Murals communicate stories. They can be transformative, representative, and challenge the status quo. Recently, PWS, the laundry company in Southgate, commissioned Dom Lampkin to create a beautiful mural as part of the city's Art in Public Places program. The mural colorfully highlights my high school, home of the Rams, Greenspan's, the last original clothing store, the 710 and 105 freeways, Southgate Park, and legendary hip-hop duo, Cypress Hill. As amazing as this mural is, it's almost as if the bright colors were just as sweet as candy. Tasty candy serving the purpose of sugarcoating and hiding the real dark tales of a city founded in 1919, incorporated in 1923, with a vision of industrial growth and racial utopia intended for whites only. Southgate was a place where poor whites from the South and central regions of the U.S. could buy inexpensive lots to build homes. Located in an industrial region between downtown L.A. and Long Beach, Southgate became a suburb for white working and middle-class families. Firestone Tire and Rubber Company and General Motors are two examples of industry that once fueled Southgate's economy. The Firestone plant opened its doors in 1929 and permanently closed in 1980. Laying off 1,300 workers. General Motors opened its doors in 1936 to build Buicks, Olds, and Pontiacs, as well as aircraft engines for World War II. The plant closed in 1982 and was later reused to build Southeast High School. These are just two examples of deindustrialization in Southgate. It is also an example of the departure of white workers and their families who once enjoyed all the benefits from unionized jobs, also known as white flight. What followed was the arrival of Central Americans and Mexicans, like my mother, who came to the U.S. in 1976, and my father, who arrived to Southgate in 1979 during the Reagan era to find ever-expanding low-wage and non-union sector jobs in cities that were crippled by decreasing tax bases and reduction in social services.
The company of General Motors, located on Tweedy Boulevard and Alameda, I remember that there were a lot of people working there. Probably there were about 3,000 people or more working on that factory. And then there was another company down the street of Firestone and Alameda. It was the Firestone Tire Company. They hire a lot of people too, you know. You're talking about another 2,000 people working or 3,000 people working there, you know. So it was cheaper for them to move to another city instead of rebuilding the whole plant. But after they move out, these guys, you know, they were out of work. It was hard. It was a big impact for the city of Southgate. They lost a lot of income, you know. After that, you know, Firestone Tires too, they moved out of the area. I believe that most of the people that worked there, they were American citizens. They didn't allow immigrants with legal residence. You have to be a U.S. citizen to work with that company. I noticed that there were a lot of people, you know, unemployed. You know, obviously the economy in the city went down, and the new generation that started working there, they were Latino people. You know, the last generation that worked for General Motors, they were Latinos. Back then, we were about 20% Latinos and 80% white people. So they survived. You know, they moved to Seattle. Some of them they moved to Texas. Some others stay here, but the majority moved out of the city of Southgate.
In the 1940s, Southgate was a predominantly white space known for its ferocious segregationist practices. In response to a growing black community, an all-white gangster organization called the Spook Hunters was formed. Recognized as the most violent gang in Los Angeles, these Southgate gangsters would attack black and brown people who were found in their town, east of Alameda Boulevard. Civil rights activists branded Alameda Boulevard as the Wall of Hate due to its utility as a physical boundary for the enforcement of segregation. Violent whites also traveled west of Alameda into South Central LA. And in 1941, they terrorized black students at Fremont High School by hanging and burning an effigy to send the message that Fremont High was a white man's school. Although the spook hunters were no longer around after the 1950s, white supremacist ideology in Southgate remained.
We as immigrants, Mexicans, we used to cross the railroad tracks over here on Pacific Boulevard or Long Beach Boulevard and towards Southgate. If you come down the street here on Santa Fe and you go down the street towards Southgate, you have problems there, you know, with the cops. I remember one time I was taking one of my friends to his house and I was driving through Pacific Boulevard, and then we went to the corner of Firestone and Long Beach Boulevard, and I saw these guys chasing us. They were driving a Dodge Dart at that time. So we were zigzagging through the traffic. I had a 1967 Chevrolet Capri. It was a lowrider. And all of a sudden the police stopped us. We were questioned, you know, for documents, driver license, etc. He just asked me what I was doing in his town. And I said, what do you mean it's your town? You know, yeah, because he says, you know, this is my town. And ever since, I noticed that the racism was very, very strong in this area. It was my first experience here in the United States that the people, you know, didn't like Mexicans then.
Now, don't get me wrong, the mural's dope, but it's also important to recognize that viewing it as a celebration of Southgate's industrial past hides the dark realities of Southgate's history. My goal was to use this mural as a tool to explore my city. I grew up here. This is my community, and I love it very much. But I can't ignore the fact that the closure of Firestone and General Motors disrupted Southgate's entire economic structure. And for what? To not hire undocumented immigrants and black and brown folk, and instead opt for cheaper, non-union labor and move to places like Wilson, North Carolina, and abroad. Or the fact that the first neighborhood gang in Southgate was made up of a bunch of white boys called the Spook Hunters. And in response to their violence, black and brown gangs formed to protect themselves. And this was just a short history of deindustrialization and racial violence in Southgate. And believe me, there's more history to uncover. We just gotta go out there and find it. Peace.
Just like an answered calling, when I drop this line in the water, keep fishing, man, with a vision. Look, brother, I saw the future. Look past, I'll draw it for you. Strong words of an old soul. Don't rock my boat, I told them. Reel 'em in, throw back slow. Back slow.